بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الإخوة والأخوات الحضور، نرحب بكم في هذه المحاضرة الإلكترونية للمجلس السعودي للجودة، والتي نستضيف فيها أحد علماء وخبراء الجودة العالميين، البروفيسور بيدرو سريفيا من البرتغال. طبعا I will switch in Arabic English. I'll switch later in English. Prof Pedro, just for the starting some of the logistics. طبعا توفر ترجمة فورية. if we go next للأسلوب الترجمة. بالنسبة للأخوة والأخوات اللي حابين يدخلوا على الترجمة ممكن يدخلوا على الأيقونة. هنا طبعا مشروح طريقة اختيار اللانجوج interpretation، وتختار اللغة العربية، تدخل من الأيقونة اللي هي الكرة الأرضية تحت في الزوم، وتختار اللغة اللي تحتاج، أو تبقى على إذا كان حاب الإنجليزي تبقى على الأوريجينال أوديو. So I would like to welcome all of you today in this webinar. We are very glad to have one of the really quality expert, quality international expert. We are proud of his presence and his support to SQC, to Saudi Quality Council, and also to the quality movement in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East region. Prof. Pedro, I will speak, I will introduce you just a few minutes, just after giving some logistic also about this meeting. Next. I want to remind all colleagues or members here about our quality, Distinguished Quality Manager Award that we are offering since 15 years ago. This is the cycle number 14 for this award. Prof. Pedro, we are offering this award to all quality manager in Saudi Arabia. Anybody hold the title of quality manager or business excellence quality manager, we have a criteria, we have a jury for that, and we present the winners in our annual ceremony every year. This is really like a roadmap, and also it is a self-assessment tool to the quality manager and everybody working in the quality field to really just see the gap and assess where he can progress in the field of the quality profession. Next, also we will have our next quality webinar will be on 11th of October, presented by Mr. Said Abdul Razak, Dr. Said Abdul Razak from United Arab Emirates, and he's a quality and expert in the artificial intelligence and linking artificial intelligence with the quality management, and he will also speak about really a new ISO standard that really will be, I think, will be a very, very famous soon, ISO 42001, which is dedicated to build an artificial intelligence management system in any organization. It is still under final stage. He's part of the technical committee, and we will be very glad to hear from him about how we can, in the quality field, benefit from artificial intelligence and benefit from this standard to enhance and build that standard, build that system in our organization, and you increase the benefit of the Industry 4.0 in our organizations through artificial intelligence and quality management systems. Next, of course, I would like to encourage all our colleagues to join us in our annual customer or member survey through this link, and we still encourage almost all the members to give their feedback, give their suggestion to improve our services and our programs. Next. We'd like to encourage all our members to visit our electronic sales point or platform for selling the books and other activities in the council, which is part of our website, and you can just go and we have now more than 32 books in the library of the council. We translated many books to English, from English to Arabic, and also we encourage also writing in Arabic. We have a program and we have a vision to reach to 100 book by 2025. This is our program, which is published. We have a very heavy, really program, continuous activities. We are one of the most active quality society in the region. We are really supporting the society and the region by providing and bringing international speakers, tackling new topics, subjects in the quality field, plus other activities that we are introducing. Next month, we will organize our national quality month in Saudi Arabia, which will be number 16. And it will be in the same time of the International Quality Day or World Quality Day. Okay, back to introducing Prof. Pedro to you. Prof. Pedro is an old friend in the quality movement and a colleague to meet me in the IQ and International Academy of Quality. Prof. Pedro is chemical engineering background. He has a PhD in chemical engineering from MIT in the United States of America, professor also of Department of Chemical Engineering in University of Coimbra in Portugal, Dean of NOFA Information Management School at NOFA University in Lisbon. He's also Vice Rector of the NOFA University, was member of the Portuguese National Parliament from 2009 to 2015. He received, in recognition of his great work and effort and contribution to the quality movement in Portugal and also worldwide, he received recognition medals from American Society for America, American Society for Quality in the United States, Figambo Award, the medal for Figambo Award, and the medal of a grant medal also by ASQ in 2022. Also, he received from IQ, from the International Academy of Quality, the Yushu Kondo Award in 2019. He's a member of the Academy, as I mentioned. Also, he's Vice President of the Academy, International Academy of Quality. And also, he's President of the Board of the Portuguese Association for Quality. He's really, I consider him one of the founder of the quality movement in Portugal. He's also Vice President of the Executive Board of the European Organization for Quality, AEQ, and board member of the American Society for Quality. So he is very active really in this international arena of quality and different mega organization that really impact the movement of quality worldwide. He developed the research and development. He has offered 230 publication in quality with more than 4,800 citation and several books in the field of quality, innovation and process system engineering with over 25. Prof. Pedro come to us today virtually in Saudi Arabia, and he was this is maybe his second visit or second participation with us. He was one of the keynote speaker of our national quality conference in Jeddah in February 2020, and we are always glad to have Prof. Pedro with us here in Saudi Arabia and in Saudi Quality Council. He's also passionate always of really introducing and tackling and introducing and discovering new challenges in the quality field. Today he will present for us something about the framework for the big data quality 5.0. We just, Prof. Pedro, we just now able to start to understand quality 4.0, but now you are moving us to another ceiling. So I will look forward with all of us, my colleagues here, to hear and listen from our esteemed guest, Prof. Pedro. Prof is yours. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much for such a nice introduction, Hayat, and I hope you are able to see my screen, which I just shared. So
Yes.
good afternoon. It's still good morning here in Portugal, but it's already afternoon in Saudi Arabia. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So I had already went through a little bit the kind of things that I've been doing for the past 30 years or so related with quality. You also have here my email address, just in case you want to get in touch afterwards. And I'm really, really pleased to be here and discuss and share some of the things that I've been doing, as well as learn also from your wonderful experience in the quality field coming from Saudi Arabia. Actually, this is, as I had just mentioned, my second time. My very first time in Saudi Arabia was a very important and I'd say learning experience as a distinguished keynote speaker just before the pandemic stopped us from traveling around. And I was very well impressed in Jeddah by seeing real life, the wonderful things that you are doing and the outstanding quality organizations you have in your country. So I think you should be proud of that. And that does not happen by chance. It's because you have entities like the Saudi Quality Council and people like Ahad Al-Amri that through a very inspiring leadership are building the future of quality, not just in Saudi Arabia, but that's also in the Middle East and across the world. So thank you so much for the invitation. Shukran, I hope I said it right. Many congratulations for the wonderful steps that you have been doing, always trying to move forward. And good luck for the remaining journey, because quality never ends. And that's why I decided to share with you a little bit what may be part of the future of the quality movement, so that you keep up the pace, the speed of change that I always associate and connect with the way quality is moving into the future in Saudi Arabia. So many congratulations, and thank you so much for this opportunity and for allowing me to come back to Saudi Arabia. And when I was preparing the presentation, I sort of realized how the world has changed since the last time I was in Jeddah, your beautiful city of Jeddah, for an in-person amazing event, and the unexpected things that have happened in the world. And I think we are more and more living in a very turbulent world. For those of you that have studied a little bit fluid dynamics like myself, if you have a pipe, there is a number which is the Reynolds number. If it's above 10,000, then you move from laminar flow to turbulent, chaotic flows. And I think the world we live in and the world we'll be living in is full of turbulence. And we need to make sure we understand this is the case, and that quality is used for us to survive and be competitive and be happy in such a turbulent world. So in 3 years, we faced the experience of going through the COVID-19 pandemic, and I must congratulate Saudi Arabia for the way you managed the pandemic. As you know, in Europe, something that was totally unexpected, by 2020, we have an ongoing war, and we don't know when it's going to end, and if it's going to end. And from a more long-term perspective, climate changes are happening. You will see that every week, every month, with new incidents, climatic incidents all across the world. So the world is full of novelty, not only good novelties, it's changing very fast. And rather than not realize this is the case, I believe that we as quality-related people should try to make sure that quality is part of our ways to address these huge challenges that the world is facing, that Middle East is facing as well, and Saudi Arabia is also facing. So that's a little bit just going back in time to realize this is going to be the case. And for quality to be part of the solution, I think we need to look at it from even broader perspectives. This is a paper that has been submitted for publication together with Greg Watson, a very well-known name from the quality world as well, originally from the US, now living in Finland. And we claim in this paper to say that we need to look into quality from a macro quality perspective. In the end, it's about individuals, it's about quality of life, it's also about sustainability, and it's about making sure that regions and countries become more sustainable and become happier because of the way they use, define, and implement quality. So that's a little bit how we decided to design it. It's a little bit inspired by the PDCA cycle. If you want to say, well, these are the 4 domains, and you need to make sure that this wheel is moving faster and faster as we move into the future. And this is the preview of a new paper that will be published soon in Quality Progress in the October 2023 issue. And that's basically related with the definition of Quality 5.0 as part of what we need to do for quality to be able to help us face these huge societal, unpredictable, chaotic times we live today and will be living tomorrow, and for sure in the next decade. Quality 5.0 in turbulent times, I think, is the way to move forward. And I think Saudi Arabia has been doing it very well. You have your vision and ambition for the country. I fully understand that the quality agenda is strongly connected with achieving that vision. I'm sure that even though it's a new concept, you're already doing a lot of Quality 5.0, and Quality 5.0 is going to be a major component of the future of quality in Saudi Arabia. And if this presentation provides some inspiration or a small contribution to that journey, I'm really glad that this may be the case, because I love what you are doing, and I will help as much as I can as you move into this very ambitious view of the future of your wonderful country. And there are, even at a personal level, strong connections. When you talk about quality, think about Portugal and think about Saudi Arabia. Another thing that came immediately to my mind is our national hero, right? Cristiano Ronaldo, who is now playing, as you all know, and playing very well in Saudi Arabia. And if you look into some of the basic principles behind his career, that they're very strongly related with quality principles. So Cristiano Ronaldo was born in a highland that belongs to Portugal. It's the Madeira Highland. And there is a museum dedicated to him in that highland. And this is a picture I took from the wall, the main wall, as you go into the museum, stating what are the basic principles and values that Cristiano Ronaldo follows. It's in Portuguese, but it has to do with passion, ambition, effort, discipline, determination, persistence. And these are, I would say, very nice quality principles. And it's good that you remember that the basic principles are always the same and will remain the same even as we move to Quality 5.0. What changes is the environment and the tools and the frameworks for us to make sure that these principles are applying the best possible ways, given the horizons we have to face. And once you use these very powerful quality principles in a very powerful way, then you can build an outstanding worldwide career as a football player, and you can win a lot of well-deserved trophies. And that's a little bit the reward you get when you are passionate and really apply the basic quality principles, even when you have to do so in new environments. And for that to happen, I think on one hand, we need to make sure that we know the basics, we share the values of quality, but are open to the new kinds of ways and the new kinds of approaches we need to have to implement quality these days. And that's even though this can be considered a little bit provocative, but that's also my role. We all believe in the PDCA cycle. It's very useful if you have a structured improvement context, but eventually in some settings that have to do with Quality 5.0, I'm suggesting as an alternative this Pearl cell model, because it's less organic, right? It's much more fluid. And the Pearl comes from the idea that these days, maybe you don't have time to plan very well before you execute. Sometimes you execute before even you think about planning. So there is a close interaction, and simultaneously you can be doing planning and execution. That's a little bit a lean startup kind of approach to the creation of new ideas and organizations. Then you assess what were the outcomes of this combination of planning and execution. You look into results, and you learn what can be learned from this more iterative and less linear approach to improvement. And you do so by looking at organizations that look like a living cell. They have membranes, they interact with the outside environment, the innovation surrounding ecosystems. So I'd say that more and more we need to be open to new ideas. The Pearl improvement model is one of such ideas to face a less predictable surrounding environment for your companies or for your public health or education sector, and so on and so forth, and not remain just because that was the case in the past, only rely in previous approaches, which are still very useful. You should not underestimate them. But on top of that, I guess we need to be open-minded and come up with these solutions. And just to go very quickly into the reason for us to consider that Quality 5.0 is happening and what drives Quality 5.0, it's, I'd say, the way for the quality movement to answer and match the challenges coming from Society 5.0. And just like we have learned a lot of nice ideas coming from Japan in the quality field in the 20th century, this concept is also a concept coming from Japan, endorsed by the Cabinet Office of the Japanese government, defining what is Society 5.0. This is the definition they provide for that kind of society, and they illustrate it visually, saying that that is a society that is inclusive, where you connect technology, human centricity, and that handles social problems as well as organizational problems. And Japan is moving towards becoming this kind of Society 5.0. And if you want to build Society 5.0, then I think we need to consider not just Quality 4.0, but Quality 5.0 as being part of the answer. And that's the topic I'm covering with a suggestion for a definition of Quality 5.0, which will be published next month in Quality Progress. But just summarizing, it's saying that in Society 5.0, we have data, but also big data, pretty much available to anyone. We have the tools to use the data and convert data into value. So I'm glad that in the next webinar, AI is coming back also as a strong topic. It's a world where everyone interacts with everyone, everything interacts with everything. And we need to make sure that Quality 5.0 exploits all of these resources to go from data to value, building better organizations, communities, but also assuring a more sustainable planet, and that we deliver well-being, quality of life, and happiness in an inclusive way for both people, organizations, societies, and the planet. So that's a little bit the definition for Quality 5.0 that I'm suggesting, but you can, if you want to go through the paper, which will publish soon, it's a working definition, but it's coming from lots of experience and lots of readings around the topic. If you want to provide a more visual description, I would say Quality 5.0 is all about making people happy by providing people with things they don't expect to receive, the wow effect, and assuring that we do that in a sustainable way. And it's a multiplication of these three factors. So if one is 0, then Quality 5.0 will become 0. So you need to have a proper balance between these three features, and assuring that it covers everyone, every organization, either public or private, every single individual. So the inclusiveness part of Quality 5.0 is strongly aligned with the inclusiveness connected to Society 5.0. So that's a little bit how we build. I believe we are going and are already moving forward. But as we move forward, you should never forget the past and should be proud of our history as well, both from the quality point of view or from the point of view of your own history as a country. So the principles still apply, but you need to revisit history to never forget these principles and apply them in a smart way to the new reality of Quality 5.0. And just to give you a specific example, a wonderful example, this is a very simple plot, nothing special as we look at it today, but it changed a little bit the world and world of quality. This is the very first time that the SPC univariate chart was built back in 1924. The author, as many of you know, is Walter Schur. And why is it so powerful? Because we have data, very simple data, but you converted the data for this variable into a tool that provides a very easy visual way that conveys important messages about process behavior. And that's why 100 years later, we are still using it. So next year, we'll be celebrating 1 century of SPC applications. And we should not forget that dealing with data is not new for the quality field or for the quality professionals. That's something we have known for 100 years, but we need to realize that now we have different sets of data, never underestimating how powerful the old data can still be. And this is another paper that I've published with Matthew Barcelo in 2021, saying, well, we are moving to a big data Quality 5.0 world, but don't forget that sometimes small data can be very useful, and a single univariate SPC chart can be the way to go. So as I move forward and speak more about big data and AI, that does not mean that you always need big data and AI tools. Sometimes very simple traditional tools are the best way to address certain quality problems. But now we have a totally different additional set of tools and additional sets of data that should not be handled using the old kinds of traditional tools, because they are not the most efficient ones. And that brings us a little bit to the industry.
Prof,
yeah, sure.
Prof. Pedro, just I want to remind that in these, our esteemed attendees, that they can put their inquiries, questions, comments on the Q&A.
Great.
The Q&A, either in Arabic and English. I will take care of it with Prof. Pedro.
Okay, right.
And still, we have another 20 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'll cope with the time. So that brings a little bit to the evolution, right? Industry 4.0 became a reality. And originally, the branding and the name actually came from Europe. It's connected to the German government initiative back in 2010. And then this was answered by the quality community by putting together Quality 4.0, more or less 5 years later. And once again, you have some very strong European companies. Carlos Ribas was the winner of the European Quality Leader recognition by EOQ. He's managing the Bosch company in Portugal. And it's a very good example of what can be done through Quality 4.0 in the industry sector. And that's going to keep moving because the amounts of data that you are creating is growing exponentially, and it will remain growing exponentially. So as of today, it's like every second the world is creating data which corresponds to the memory sizes of 1 million laptops. So it's rather impressive, the amount of data we have available, and it will become even more so in the future. So, and that's why we have to face more and more big data contexts, right? Lots of data, lots of varieties of data, not just numbers, but text, images, and so on and so forth, that we collect very quickly and that we need to assure have the proper quality. So I'd say these days, as you want to apply quality 4.0 or even more so quality 5.0, there are plenty of opportunities, and there is not any longer a lack of data. The challenge is to make sure that you convert the data into value, and for that to happen, we need new frameworks, new tools, and new sets of knowledge, and we need to adopt broader views. From a stricter quality point of view, 10 years ago, we used to look just into data, systems, and then analytics. I'd say that for quality 5.0, we need to consider other layers. This is useful to make the best possible decisions. And for that to happen in a society 5.0 context, value means a lot of things, including your community, including social value, including sustainability, including social responsibility, or including quality of life. So we need to have this broader view of what drives decision-making in quality 5.0 context. For that to happen, on one hand, you can exploit digital transformation to improve quality management. And on the other hand, you can exploit quality management to improve digital transformation happening in your organizations or societies. So these are two sides of the same coin in quality 5.0. And that's going to stay, given that we have all the computational power, all the big data access that allows us to extract value and connect quality to digital transformation. Nothing totally new. So this is a quote I took from a text which sounds to be a 2023 kind of text, but if you go back to where this is coming from, actually it's coming from my PhD thesis back in the 90s. So the tools are not totally new. Data was already there. And I spent 40 years of my life trying to find out what are the best ways to find good operating zones to run your plant by exploiting the data that was available at the time and using machine learning tools. So it's also important to realize that AI was not born in the 21st century. It has been with us for decades. And this is just revisiting these tools and make sure that now we have all the computational power and all the data to make them even better. And we can also sort of realize that you can compare the more usual traditional quality approaches with the ones that have to do with big data. It's switching from one reality to the other, because now you have unstructured data, right? You have huge amounts of data, not just a sample of data. And you have AI tools which can complement the statistical methodologies. But my key point here is that if you are very used to a given hammer, you try to see nails all over the place, even where the nails are not there. On the other hand, if you are used to seeing a set of nails and don't realize that the nails have changed, then you start seeing the wrong reality. And I'd say that for proper implementation of quality 5.0, you should not get trapped in the hammers you used to use, because the nails have changed and the new nails ask you to use different kinds of tools, not forgetting that this does not mean that you cannot combine more traditional approaches with new approaches. And once again, this is another paper that we have published in 2023 saying that, of course, statistical tools are still useful. There are even connections you can make from statistics and AI machine learning approaches, but in the end, you need to find out in each case what are the nails, what is the best hammer for you to come up with quality 5.0 efficient implementation. And if you use generative AI tools, and that's something that you can consider, I would say that the more structured approaches are good, but maybe they're not the best approaches when you have big data quality 5.0 ideation, insights, and discovery opportunities for you to solve, where agility is needed, creativity is needed, fuzziness is very strong, and therefore we need to revisit a little bit the approaches and not be stuck in, let's say, the mic or lean or 8D, which are very useful for other problems. Maybe they're not the best approaches for other kinds of challenges. So what I did next, and I do very often, I asked ChatGPT, which comes from generative AI developments, and they gave me the answer, which is the one I truly believe in, saying, if you are in big data quality 5.0 certain scopes of problems, then using traditional Six Sigma tools maybe is not the best way to go, and we need to go after new frameworks and not necessarily try to force everything to be dealt through the mic or other similar structure improvement approaches. And that brings me to this framework, which I'm calling 3D, because it's a three-dimensional world, saying other than mic or other approaches which are useful for certain contexts, I strongly believe that if you have big data quality 5.0 challenges, maybe you need a quality learning framework that is composed of three main stages. One is the first D, it's defining the domain. The second one is coming up with the right sets of big data. And the third one is discovery, going after the unknown, building new ideas, coming up with new insights. So in the domain stage, you need to define the borders of your system. Sometimes they're fuzzy, so it's not trivial. You need to define the scopes of what you are looking for. Then, once you have done so and clarified the domain, you need to make sure that you have the right data lakes. And that includes all kinds of data, that include even social media related data. It can include voices, it can include images, and so on and so forth, not just numbers. And then the third D has got with discovery, to uncover new concepts using different kinds of tools, in many occasions using AI to complement the more traditional statistical tools. So that's a little bit of framework I want to propose for you to consider and for discussion, the 3D framework for big data quality 5.0. And then I'll just show with you three specific examples. The first one was the basis of a PhD thesis and several papers. We established a collaboration with a very large refinery company in Portugal. They want to come up with new models to estimate a certain quality feature of the product, the octane number. We collected all the data coming from the plant for over 2 years of operation. So it's a huge data lake. And then in the discovery stage, we are trying to find which parts of the plant were most influencing product quality, what are the best techniques to understand product quality, and what may be good ways to improve product quality, take into account the knowledge that you have acquired through this Quality 5.0 project. And this is just a sample of the results. So I'm not going to the details. You have thousands of variables collected every second. And just by looking at this final kind of summary, you can see, for instance, the reactor part of the refinery is the critical one. The pressure is the second one. So you can focus your attention on these parts of the plant if you want to improve performance. And then we test a bunch of different models. In this particular case, the A models, which are on the right side of the plot, the smaller the performance in this indicator, the better the model is. So we are able to come up with very strong, reliable A models that can predict product quality from the process variables. We tried a number of statistical tools. In this case, AI won against more statistical-based approach. That's not necessarily always the case. The second example brings the macro quality idea into place. it also resulted in 2 papers that have been published. So the main was trying to understand the pandemic. We collected public domain data from all countries across the world. We focused on the 250 days of the beginning of the spread of the pandemic in each country. We used AI tools to identify what was going on, compile profiles coming from one country to the other. The clusters or groups of countries that behave in a similar way were not at all the ones we expected it or might expect at the beginning. So we got here some surprises, and were very interesting dynamic features that could explain why there was so many different ways of behaving as we went through the pandemic. And it's a little bit a summary. So this is the worldwide picture, and you can see that we have countries that are in cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. Those were identified automatically using AI techniques. These are the kind of time profiles for different clusters of countries. And I'm proud to share with you that Saudi Arabia belongs to cluster A, which are typically the countries that did very well in handling the pandemic, as opposed, for instance, with the cluster B countries. But if you want to get more details, once again, we have some papers that have been published dealing with this second example. And in the health sector, there is plenty of things you can do to apply quality 5.0, and I think Saudi Arabia is a very good example. So when I have to present to international audiences some good examples of e-health related quality-inspired approaches, I think Saudi Arabia is a very nice case study, so I'm not going to go through details. In Jeddah, I saw it happening, right? All the e-health movement that you are carrying out, and you should be very proud for that to be the case. And the final example is more a qualitative one. I was asked to go through the reports coming from assessors that have visited a number of entities and provided their feedback through reports according to a given excellence model. So this means that we have over 400 pages of vintage text to look at. And then what was a really a good example of AI tools applied to quality 5.0, and it was really a surprise to me. So I did at the same time my own readings and extracting my own insights by going through the reports of these 10 different organizations. But then at the same time, I asked my computer overnight to use some AI text mining, sentiment analysis, and neurolinguistic processing tools. And the AI tools didn't know which entities, what the excellence model was all about, but it was able to extract 3 main common insights coming from these entities. The way they handle the COVID-19 pandemic while keeping quality going on, the need to have a stronger consistency between quality indicators and organizational strategies, and the need for such entities to address longer-term risks, opportunities, and trends to complement shorter-term views. And what was amazing is that there were things I did not see, but there were also things that AI was able to find out overnight, and I was not able to capture as a human being. So I think this is a very interesting example of how human being interaction complemented with AI automatic treatment of text can give you the best of the 2 worlds. And this is my third and final example on how quality 5.0 is already happening and how powerful it can be dealing with all kinds of different sets of data. And I'm sure this is going to be part of the future of quality and part of the future of quality also in Saudi Arabia. So in a summary, I'd say that as we move into this fascinating future, quality needs to stay ahead. We are moving fast into quality 5.0 as the natural evolution coming after quality 4.0. Big data is part of it, and to handle big data quality, you should not get stuck in the previous tools and the previous frameworks. And maybe the 3D framework is a good framework for you to get inspired and achieve quality 5.0 discoveries and insights. I wish you all the best in your future thoughts and possible implementations. And I hope we'll be able to discuss further this and other issues eventually in the future. For those of you that can do so or wish to do so, we'll be hosting the European Quality Congress that I'm organizing in November 9th and 10th in Portugal. It will be also another opportunity to discuss about the new developments that are taking place. And we are very proud to have, I have Alamri as one of our leading speakers, sharing what is happening in Saudi Arabia, because I think we have a lot of things to learn from Saudi Arabia and Saudi Quality Council. Going back once again to make sure there is consistency and alignment between principles that are always the same ones. Henry Ford made a major contribution to the quality world in the early 20th century. And one of his quotes that I like is saying that, well, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. I hope we'll keep working together. You should be proud of many achievements that Saudi Arabia has been putting together because of being able also to work together, all the way from the wonderful past and inspiring past you have, covering the present, but also building the future. And I think building the future should be supported by Quality 5.0, new tools, new frameworks, and I try to share some of my own thoughts on what such tools and such frameworks are and will be as we move into the coming years. And if you are able to do so, I'd say we are here to stay, we are here to make a difference, and the world will realize how important quality is and the quality movement is going to be, provided that we understand, and this is nothing totally new. I'm quoting George Box, a very deep contributor to quality in the 20th century, say, we need to update ourselves, reinvent ourselves. And as far as you are able to do so, then quality is here, and quality professionals will be the catalysts for the future of the organizations, of countries, and of the world. And I think Quality 5.0 through the 3D framework can be one component of this updated approach to the future of quality and the future of the world. And my very final quote goes to a good friend of quality in the Middle East, a good friend of mine, Professor Mohammed Zairi, who unfortunately died due to unexpected COVID-19 related issues after writing a very wonderful book exactly talking about the future of quality related with the pandemic and reflections as he went through the pandemic himself. And I think this is a very powerful final message. Quality is the answer to all our needs. It guides our dreams and defines our purpose. And if you understand that this is the case and keep updating, upskilling, and moving it to the future and not get stuck or prisoned by the past, then I think we can make a difference. And I leave you with this very final interesting thought from Mohammed Zairi, paying tribute also to his legacy and thanking him for his wonderful friendship and mentorship. We hope this is going to be the future. Inshallah, which in Portuguese we say Oxalá. So that's once again making sure we have very strong bridges between Portugal and Saudi Arabia, even from the way we speak and some of the words that you use. So that completes my presentation. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll be now available for any questions that you may have, and even afterwards, if you want to get in touch, please let me know. and I'll do my best to help you as much as I can. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you and being back to Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Prof. Pedro, for this excellent, interesting, informative, visionary, really presentation about the future of quality. I think you are really addressing the future of quality. In this presentation, we were just talking about quality 4.0, moving now with utilizing the big data or the 3D that 3D model that you are presenting for big data. I think it's a very well-structured approach to understand and utilize really the wealth of data that all our organization have today. The big data is really a key element, or I think it's a main pillar of achieving excellence, achieving quality in our life, in our products, in our services, in our organization. If really we utilize that wealth through a well-structured approach, as you mentioned, domain, we have to understand the domain and the data itself and the discovery, what really you want to come up with. The link between Society 5.0 to Quality 4.0 is, I think, very, very very logical link, because as you mentioned, and as Japanese, when they introduced this, Society 5.0, that's we want, it's mainly, it's in a short term, it's a quality of life, right?
Yep.
Really want the society reach to the level of quality of life through all this technology, all this knowledge that we have now in our hand. Thank you for presenting the examples, because very good. The theory part is there, but 3 or 4 examples, practical examples, how we can use the 3D big data model to really analyze our problems, come up with, discover a real solution to this problems or these situations. Thank you for appraising and addressing Saudi Arabia in your presentation and many parts of it. We are proud. We are proud of your also assessment, because you are a well-recognized figure in quality field, and we are proud of your. We consider it as a certificate of recognition to the quality movement in Saudi Arabia, and also the efforts that our country is doing, our government, really to achieve the Vision 2030. We thank you for your support, your enthusiasm about supporting us to continue this journey. The nice thing you add also, if people of football fan in Saudi Arabia know that you are bringing Cristiano in your presentation, I think we will have 100,000 attendees, and our Zoom will fall down. But really, he's a legend. He's a role of really excellence in football. We can see this now in Saudi Arabia, the way he lead the team, the way he motivate his team, the way he even motivate the fans around in the stadium. And when they just relax, he asks them to continue. So the leadership charisma also there to lead the team, and he really add a new flavor to the football in Saudi Arabia and in the region. So thank you for Portugal. Thank you for addressing Zairi. Prof. Zairi, he's our teacher. He's a key supporter and also partner and ally with our SQC, Saudi Quality Council. He was really moving and helping us all the way in this journey for the last 20 years ago. And as you mentioned, I think he's one of the quality gurus, our visionary, who speak about the Quality 4.0 in a very early time when just start we talk about. But by the way, he has now 7 books. He wrote 7 books about Quality 4.0. The Saudi Quality Council translated 2 of them to Arabic language, so people can also benefit in our region from this thoughts and this. Even the last book about Corona crisis, we translated to Arabic language. And hopefully one day we can translate one of your books also, Prof. Pedro, to Arabic language, so people here can benefit from your thoughts and your knowledge. Maybe regarding the questions, let me start with just question linking to what you present, then I will go for some other questions. Now, the focus in quality for 5.0, as from your, or the big data, right? Big data is one element of the quality or industry 4.4 or 5, right? Of course, you mentioned the use of artificial intelligence in the discovery side or in the domain analysis. What about other parts? Because you know there is Internet of Things, about robots, about also the artificial intelligence, how to really coin, because it looks like from your presentation you coined quality 5.0 by the big data only. Is that I'm true, or you can clarify this more?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for your kind remarks. They mean a lot to me as well, as you know, because you're doing a lot of very interesting things which impact not just Saudi Arabia but the world of quality. But going to the specific question, I think it's for quality 5.0 we need big data, but it's not enough to have big data, right? So I'd say quality 5.0 is exploiting big data not just from a narrow perspective, but to face the problems of organizations and societies. So that's why we bring sustainability as being a major concern when you want to face society 5.0, and you bring also inclusiveness as part of it. Nobody should be left behind. So it's a broader view. It's saying that we have data, but we have data that can be used for different kinds of purposes. That's why I brought an example that has to do with COVID-19. It does not have to do with a private company. So that's a little bit how I see quality 5.0, but the future article will explain a little bit more in detail the transition between quality 4.0 to quality 5.0, because here I want to share more practical example, as you said, but it's entirely true. So data is the raw material. So the wonderful things come afterwards, is what to do with it, and AI is part of it, but statistical tools are also things you can use for other data sets. But what is really different is that now you have Internet of Things, right? You have text, right? I was amazed because the computer knew nothing about excellence. But by going through all the reports, it's able to uncover things that I did not find. So now we can use text as data, images as data, and that's new. But there is another thing that I think it's worthwhile mentioning. All the projects that I described to you, and they were easy to present right now, but I'll say more than 50% of the work that needs to be done is to assure you have data quality. So it's about data pre-processing. It's about replacing variables that don't make sense. It's replacing missing values. So if you don't have data quality, then you have the garbage in, garbage out effect, and the AI cannot solve the problem of having good raw material, and good raw material means having data quality. And there are lots of tools you can use to make sure that you have the right data set, the right data lake, then to come up later on the tool. So that's a little bit what I might say, right? So
okay, thank you very much. It's clear. So that's really the start.
Yeah, sure.
Without really quality big data or quality data for any.
But these days, what I find more and more happening is companies or people in charge of municipalities or whatever, or that sector, that say, well, I have this huge data lake. I don't know what to do about it. So it's not any longer a problem. 20 years ago, I had a lot of time discussing with companies, well, we need the data. Now they say, well, the data is there. Tell me what to do about it. So, which means that we have moved away from not having raw material to another thing, which is assuring quality of the raw material and that we have the proper frameworks and tools to create value out of the raw material. And that's what quality has always been doing, creating value out of raw material. Now the raw material is big data in many cases.
Excellent. One of our colleagues here in attendees sent in the QA and a question. I think you answered it right now, but just to address it by Yusuf Bukhari, how I can, our colleague engineer Yusuf, how I can summarize quality 5.0 in short way with regards big data. I think that's your entire presentation, but you want really a short way to describe that.
Yeah, I'd say that's why I have this visual summary, right? It's making sure it covers all people, all organizations. We should not left anyone behind. In the past, I would say some of the frameworks were just for big companies or just for certain sectors. So it has to do with all sectors, all kinds of organizations, all people. So that's one thing. The other is that you need to have not just a focus on profitability, but on value creation and purpose. And you need to find what purpose means to your organization. And you only create value if you are able to use data to add value according to your purpose, or according to sustainability, or according to quality of life, and not just according to profitability. So I'd say it's a much broader multi-criteria concept of value. When I mentioned the challenge in quality 5.0, going from data to value, you should take into account those components.
Excellent. I will go for some other question from my colleagues. Is there specific steps or approach, or can we say methodology or basic step that I can use as an organization to adapt or to implement quality for 5.0?
Yeah, I'd say that, first of all, I think you need to revisit the strategy and you see if it matches this broader view, right? If sustainability is not your part of your concerns, if the community is not yet part of the strategy of the organization, then I think you should start at the higher level saying, well, if you want to move into quality 5.0, then we need to revisit what is the purpose of the company, right? Is it aligned with this broader view? So that gives you the leadership inspiration to drive the movement. And that's one of the most important things. Once you have that clarified, then I would say that you need is 1, 2, or 3 quick wins. Let's pick up 3 specific projects, which will surprise your CEO, which will surprise your customers, just like I was myself surprised, and I didn't know the answer. Just give those 10 reports to the computer and let your boss know. Go to ChatGPT, give the ChatGPT a smart question, and share that with your CEO next day. Sort of realize how powerful this can be, not neglecting the human side of it. So I'm not saying that you should automate everything. I'm just saying if you have 2 or 3 projects to showcase how easy it is to come up with wonderful insights and not so much minor improvements, I think that's the way to go. Pick up 2 or 3 domains, going back to the 3D framework, pick up 3 domains where you collect data and they have amazing discoveries. Go back to the organization and say, well, you see, that's what we were able to come up in a very short period of time, not following the usual approaches, but using the new frameworks and the new tools.
Excellent. Let's lead to another other question. This is a comment from a question from our colleague, our partner, Prof. Mohammed Aishouni. He said, thank you very much for your excellent presentation, Prof. Pedro. My question is there any ethical risks on quality that could be associated with the use of the artificial intelligence model?
Oh, sure, but there are ethical risks everywhere, and once you come up with new tools, you need to have a very clear set of personal values and of organizational values, so that you use the good side of technology rather than taking the risk of falling into the dark side of technologies. And so I think you can do it in many different ways, the way Europe and the European Union are facing the challenges of AI is by coming up with regulatory decisions and frameworks that will try to separate the good from the bad. But in the end, I'd say the best way to avoid the bad side of technology is making sure that you have well-qualified, trained people, and that's part of the training. For instance, at the Nova University of Lisbon, our novel School of Law is exploring ethical issues related with AI and digital transformation to make sure this is part of the training that I'd say any quality professional should have. Because on one hand, I believe you need to learn about these new tools. You need to know about machine learning. You need to know about new developments, new frameworks. But it's good that along the same lines that you have, you are exposed to what are the ethical implications so that you make your own personal judgment on the right way to handle data through AI. But of course, that's a very serious issue that needs to be taken into account. And my position is very clear. I use a lot ChatGPT. I allow my students to use ChatGPT, but as the beginning of a conversation, right? Or to double check, well, this is my conclusion. What is the conclusion coming from ChatGPT? And sometimes we complement each other very well. So we have a new program dealing with tourism and hospitality at the Nova University of Lisbon, because as vice rector, I'm in charge of that sector. And we decided to design the plan of studies, and then we went to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to design the plan of studies. And now by combining together two answers, I think you are coming up with a final version which is better than the one we might have got just by doing it with human beings or relying entirely on ChatGPT. So I think hybrid approaches may be the way to go.
I think I agree with you, Prof. Pedro. It is also a global issue. If you see, it's taking also the media by storm. The ethical issues regarding the artificial intelligence, and well, it's not only related to the quality projects. It's also
it's much broader
to our life, in general. But we, as a quality manager, as I said, or quality professionals, we should not be aware of this. We should consider this part of our programs within our organizations or within our
it's just that's why keeping the same principles is the way to go. So we should not underestimate how powerful the quality principles are, because the ethical issues should be aligned with the ethics applied to quality in general. It's just that the kind of non-ethical behavior changes. But I'm sure many of you have visited lots of companies where they were not being ethical in the way they were drawing points in an SPC chart, right? Just because the easiest way was to come up with a number that eventually was not the right number. So this is just having the same concerns, but another scale and another speed, because you're not talking just about an SPC chart. We are talking about thousands of variables, but ethics should always be part of our lives and should be applied to all kinds of tools.
Okay. Another question from our colleagues here in the SQC, how to integrate the artificial intelligence and 3D to enhance the old quality tools,
Yeah, I think my advice will be, and that's why I shared some of the papers where we have also discussed that issue. I mean, you need to understand what is your problem, right? If you have a specific problem to be solved, right? And sometimes I see crazy things, like just because AI, but that's why I'm a very privileged person, because I have a very strong statistical background, complemented with a very strong AI background. So if you have 20 variables and 100 data records, please don't use AI. It's stupid. Just linear regression may do much better.
True.
So it's a matter of making sure that you have a toolbox, right? And depending on what is your problem, some of the problems should be handled in a more conventional way. Others are clearly quality 5.0 problems, and you should not underestimate one or the other, or say that these tools should replace the others. For instance, even if you go back to the refinery example, it was clearly a big data quality 5.0, but we still compare the performance of AI tools with more traditional nonlinear regression multivariate approaches. And sometimes statistic approaches do better. In other cases, AI does better. And once you have a problem, think very wisely. Is it more along the lines of traditional previous quality problems, then use Mike, let's say, use Six Sigma. If it's a less clear problem where you have thousands and thousands of variables, maybe 3D is the right approach. What I've seen is that in some cases you have small data and are trying to use AI tools. That doesn't make sense. In other cases, you have huge data lakes and are trying to use linear regression. That doesn't make sense either. So I think I'm not saying that one replaces the other. I'm saying that you have to define what is the most efficient way to address each specific problem.
Excellent. Very clear. Thank you. Last two questions, and we will conclude. Another question from our colleagues in the group here. Of course, I think you answered already the difference between quality 4.0, quality 5.0 in your presentation. But part of the question, what is the driver behind developing maybe another future generation of quality? Yani now quality 4.0, 5. Maybe somebody will speak. So is there a drivers behind that?
Well, I think the way I see it is that quality is adjusting to the world, right? So it's a little bit being agile and not just keep repeating itself. So the way I see it from an historical point of view, Germany didn't come up with the Industry 4.0 brand. In the world, many companies are doing digital transformation. So the answer was quality 4.0. Then there was a broader revolution and people start to talk about society 4.0. And I say quality has adjusted by saying, well, maybe we need another kind of broader view of quality 4.0. Now, as I see it, once society 5.0 appeared as a strong Japanese ambition, I think quality 5.0 is the way to make sure that we are adjusting. So I think the driver has been the fact that the quality communities understand that the world is changing, societies are changing. For us to remain useful and to survive and to be considered as being relevant and to create additional value, we need to update our definitions, our tools, and our framework. So I think that's a little bit how things have been evolving. And that's why I foresee a bright future for quality 5.0, which is now being used also in some excellence models, for instance, in Sweden, because they understand a little bit that this is going to be part of the future. And then we have to wait and see what may be further developments in the society. But I think that's the way to go. I mean, quality is helping the world. As the world changes, we need to change our paradigms and our definitions.
Excellent. Of course, I agree with you totally. We have a last question from our colleague Salim Hameidan. How can we enhance quality of unorganized data and newly or real-time data?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So I think you should eventually start with some kind of data quality audit, right? What data do you have? Do you have all the data that you need? Do you have data that you don't need and you should forget? Do you have data that you are not yet collecting that you should start collecting? What are your sources of data? Are you just using numbers? Why don't you have a fully digital document management system where you can use all your memories, right? So if you have, if you are in a company with over 30 years of existence, there is a lot of text, knowledge, books, things like that, that eventually you should try to consider as being part of your memory of knowledge. What about customers, right? For instance, some companies these days don't rely only in customer service. They get social networks, real-time feedback. So that's the world we live in. And you can have adaptive learning taking place, which means that you should not wait too long for things to be examined, collected, and extracted. Just to give you an example of a pharmaceutical company, they had a new drug launch on the market, and it was due to very early stage feedback they got from patients coming from social networks, not from anywhere else, that they identify the side effect of that drug. So just imagine how many months it would have taken to go through the usual approaches to collect the cases for the authorities to learn. So it's entirely true that all the AI tools and 3D can be applied real time. Yeah. Just don't wait for tomorrow. If you have already the data that you can exploit today, that's the way to go, to have real time, adjustable, customized approaches for data collection and data analytics.
Thank you very much, Prof. Pedro, for all this clarification and answering the queries and questions. Attendees, thank you very much for this very informative presentation. We are always glad to have you here in Saudi Arabia, either virtually or in attendance. So hopefully to see you in attendance. We'll see you in Porto in Portugal in November. We wish you all the best in your organizing the EAQ, European Quality Organization Congress. You are really one of the quality champion in Europe, and we wish you all the best. And we are proud that Saudi Quality Council is one of the supporter of your conference. And we will continue this partnership in the benefit of the quality of both of our countries and region and the world. Hopefully.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful experience. Good to have you here, and hope to have further discussion in the future. And for those of you that will come to Portugal, have a chance of meeting in a three-dimensional space as well.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we would like to present virtually to Prof. Pedro, appreciation and gratitude from Saudi Quality Council to your participation with us today and enlightening all of us about Quality 5.0. So thank you very much. And this is a small gesture from Saudi Quality Council to you to recognize or remember this event with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please, please accept that from us, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And there is also an evaluation for the meeting. You just our attendees can go and just see the poll is there. So please, we need your feedback because it will improve our future events. Thank you very much, Prof. Pedro. Thank you for everybody attending here, and hopefully to see you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Bye.
هذا المواقع التواصل معنا في المجلس، واللي حاب يحصل على الشهادة وهذا الرابط ممكن تفتحوا الباركود ده عن طريق المتجر الإلكتروني في المجلس، في موقع المجلس راح ممكن حصولكم على شهادة حضور هذه الندوة إن شاء الله. شاكر لكم حضوركم جميعا، شاكر زملائي اللي ساندونا من المجلس، من أعضاء اللجنة التنفيذية وفريق الفعاليات الإلكترونية في المجلس. شكر جزيل للمترجم زميلنا المهندس نبال نعيم على الترجمة الفورية الاحترافية، وشكرا للأخت تاني على جهودها في التنظيم والتنسيق. أشكركم جميعا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.